The April 21st, 2025 meeting of the Agenda Charter Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chairwoman Barnhart.
Here.
Chairwoman Barnhart is present. Mr. Baynes. Mr. Baynes is present. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley is present. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew is present. Mr. Chardy. Mr. Chardy is present. Mr. Long.
Here.
Mr. Long is present. Mr. McCabe.
Here.
Mr. McCabe is present. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris is present. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson is present.
Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
There is not.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Schnurr.
You will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature. And our first speaker is Terrence Schnurr.
Madam Chair, in the few days since I signed up to address the IGR committee on an issue I consider very important and very urgent, I have decided it is more important that I address several committees tonight on what is the most important and urgent issue any of us have ever faced. Nearly a quarter of a millennium ago, flawed human beings like ourselves brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all of us are created equal. Today, we face a national crisis that tests whether this nation, how long this nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can endure. On Saturday, these concerns brought me to MLK Park at Manhattan Square. I was heartbroken by what I witnessed. Although I heard the words diversity and inclusion, most of the speakers, most notably the two elected officials, were demanding uniformity and exclusion. They focused their speeches on petty intrapartisan complaints and demands for orthodoxy on issues that are unrelated to or tangentially related to the crisis our nation faces. Those of us who believe in Republican values like due process, equality before the law, and freedom of expression and separation of powers must put aside our past differences and subordinate our present differences and speak in one voice in defense of the principles on which this republic was built. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you. Is there anyone else signed up to speak? No? Okay. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the December 17th, 2024 minutes before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. The next item on the agenda is new business. Mr. Clerk.
Referral 25-0134, enact a local law entitled Waiver of Residency Requirement for Attorneys Employed by Monroe County.
Moved by Legislator Baynes, seconded by Majority Leader Udelson. Is there any discussion? Legislator Brew.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Through you to the administration. I know that for it's ongoing that the County of Monroe strives to find talent in professional services within our own Monroe County community. But I also understand if there is a requirement for those professional services that aren't need to be filled, that might be necessitating this referral. My question to the Chair of the Administration, in lieu of asking for a list of the other counties that are also doing the same thing, waiving the residency requirements, could you give me an idea, if you do know, what the percentage of counties across our state has also waived its residencies?
Through the chair, we can get a more comprehensive list across for the entire state. What I do know, and I think all of the legal departments have experienced, is that all of our neighboring counties do not require residency. So that has affected, I can speak for the law department. I'm happy to, I know we have a representative from the district attorney's office here. It affects us in two ways. We can't hire out of county candidates when I think anyone in the legal industry would tell you that recruitment is a challenge right now. And conversely, we can lose people to our neighboring counties who can hire from out of county. So I know that from direct experience, I know Genesee, Livingston, Wayne, and Ontario all do not require residency. And a number of counties across the state have adopted these exceptions. So we can get a more comprehensive list, but I know the practice is widespread.
Through the chair of the administration, that would your response would indicate to me that with the neighboring counties that we are aware of, most of them, if not all of them, have waived those requirements. So there's really no need to get back to me. A second question I had to the chair of the administration is, could you summarize the types of positions that are currently open? Are you, number one, the number of current openings there are within the law department? And number two, what level of attorneys are you looking for? Are you looking for a certain number of entry-level attorneys, or are you looking for a number of experienced attorneys with specific training in one particular area?
Through the chair, speaking for the law department, I'm happy to report we only have one vacancy right now. If you know any civil litigators who are looking for a gig, we would be happy to talk to them. We find we just hired our biggest recruitment challenge is typically in our family court units for trial attorneys. So the challenge, which I think this helps address, is typically they're what I would refer to as line attorneys, right? The folks that we need to go to court every day. So the ideal candidate has some experience because it's really challenging to jump into that as a true entry-level position, but not necessarily the most experienced. And I'll note the local law ensures that leadership positions in all of the various law departments, district attorney, conflict defender, public defender, would all have to still live in Monroe County. So this is really designed to just broaden our recruitment pool so that we can attract candidates for the positions we're having difficulty attracting.
Okay.
And we have a representative from the district attorney's office who I think could comment on their recruiting needs as well.
Dodd Stubb from the district attorney's office. To echo the county attorney's concerns and statements, I can tell you that we currently have 15 attorney vacancies. They are at entry, medium, and as you approach upper level. So we need attorneys with all skill sets. And I can tell you that anecdotally, as the enforcer of the Monroe County residency requirement, I have had to tell people where they can and can't purchase homes, apartment complexes that they can and can't rent in. I've had to tell younger, recent law school graduates that they can't come home and live with their parents because they need to live inside Monroe County. So I think this would be a tremendous relief for us and hopefully assist with recruitment.
Yeah. Yes, to the chair, a follow-up question to the district attorney's office. So if you were able to magically attract 15 attorneys by waiving this residency requirement, would there be funding within the DA's budget to support all of those positions?
Just looking at Bob, through the chair. My budget has the funding for all of the positions.
That's good to know. And just a couple more questions. To the chair of the administration, could you give us a quick snapshot of what the vacancy rates may be with the public defender and also the conflict defender? And if not readily available, it'd be fine to get back to me at a later date.
Through the chair, we will get that information back. I'll just note that we've obviously spoken extensively with both the public defender and the conflict defender, and they are also very much in support of this.
Okay, and my last question, I promise. You mentioned adjoining counties. Would that mean counties that their boundaries are physically touching Monroe County?
Through the chair, yes, that's exactly what it means.
Thank you. I yield the floor.
Is there any other discussion? Legislator Baynes?
Thank you, Ms. Chairwoman. There are positions, management positions, as I understand it, through you to the administration, that still will require a residency in Monroe County. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that is correct. If you look at the way that's addressed is if you look at the definition of attorney under the proposed local law, it shall not mean anyone in a position in pay group 22 or above.
Correct. So the attorneys who want to move up into management positions will, if they live outside the county, they would have to move into the county to seek those opportunities. Is that correct through you, Ms. Chairwoman?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Legislator Morris?
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, again, for the adjoining counties, was that anything more than just okay, these are the 5 counties that surround us, so travel would be minimal, or was there anything more to that school of thought?
Through the chair, it is both. It is ensuring, right, if anyone needs to respond promptly, I would also have to go back, but I think it's the most clearly legally justifiable position.
Is there any other discussion? Legislator Charity?
Yes, just briefly, my experience has shown me that through the chair to the administration, my experience is telling me that there are numerous attorneys that are leaving both the public defender's office and especially the Monroe County District Attorney's office. Other than this waiver of residency requirements, is there any other proposed resolutions or proposals to keep the current attorneys both in the public defender's office and the district attorney's office here in local in our offices?
Through the chair, I think, this is an incremental step. We have taken other incremental steps, including, right, pay is improved relative to what it has been. Our HR director reminded me that specifically with the public defender's office, they have use of telework policies, other things that would encourage retention. So I know those are things that all of the offices are working on consistently. I know that both, I think I'll let the DA's office speak from this. I know the public defender's office has also engaged in, some more extensive outreach efforts, recruitment efforts out of law school.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Item carries. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? There being no other matters, the April 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Agenda Charter Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Agenda Charter Committee will be Monday, May 19th, 2025 at 5 p.m.
The April 21st, 2025 meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Bonnick. Ms. Bonnick is present. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman is present. Chairwoman Hughes-Smith.
Here.
Chairwoman Hughes-Smith is present. Mr. Maffucci. Mr. Maffucci is present. Ms. McIntyre. Ms. McIntyre is present. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris is present. Mr. Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair is present.
Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
Yes, there is. First person is Terrence Schnurr. You will have 2 minutes in which to address the committee. Please do not bring up any signs or props. Do not single out any legislator individually, and please conclude when the buzzer sounds.
Recently, a resident of the state of Maryland who was under the protection of an immigration court order specifically directing that he could not be removed to El Salvador was, allegedly by mistake, removed to El Salvador. The current regime in Washington claims they can't correct that error because he's under the control of the Salvadoran government. The Salvadoran head of state claims that he cannot return him because our country will not take him. A revered conservative jurist appointed to the Fourth Circuit by Ronald Reagan and considered for the United States Supreme Court by George Herbert Walker Bush said last Thursday that this should be shocking not only to judges, but to America, but to the intuitive sense of liberty that Americans far removed from courthouses still hold dear. We should all care, because if that can happen, if what happened to Kilmar Abrego Garcia can happen to anyone in this country, it can happen to anyone in this country. It doesn't matter whether he's a good man, a bad man, or somewhere in between. If the government believes he should not be in this country, they should bring him back to this country and present their evidence to a court as to why he should not be here. And everyone in this room has an obligation to speak up in defense not just of him, but of ourselves, our friends, our relatives, and people we don't like. Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you. Is there anyone present who is not signed up to speak who would like to address the committee at this time? Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the March 24th, 2025 minutes of the Environment and Public Works Committee before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. The next item on the agenda is new business. Madam Clerk.
25-0113, classification of action and determination of significance pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act for the state of county-owned tax foreclosure property located at 763 Howard Road, Rochester, New York, 14624 in the town of Gates.
Moved by Legislator Bonnick, seconded by Legislator Maffucci. Is there any discussion? Legislator McIntyre.
Just a question, really briefly. Do we have any idea what they're going to do with this property? Sorry, through the chair. Do we have any idea what they're going to do with this property? Is there anything that we know about this?
Through the chair, this is the seeker referral, so we don't have real property here for this referral, but we can get that information and get back to you.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
Anybody else? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
25 115 classification of action and determination of significance pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act for the sale of county-owned tax foreclosure property located at Cedarhurst Drive, West Henrietta, New York, 14586 in the town of Henrietta.
Moved by legislator Maffucci, seconded by legislator Bonnet, just to mix things up. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next item.
25 117 classification of action and determination of significance pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act for the sale of county-owned tax foreclosure property located at 3417 Atlantic Avenue, Penfield, New York, 14526 in the town of Penfield.
Legislator, moved by legislator Bonnet, seconded by legislator Maffucci. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Okay. 25 119 classification of action and determination of significance pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act for the release, modification, restatement, and vacation of underground electric and water easements at 390 and 400 East Henrietta Road in the city of Rochester, and the modification of a utility tunnel easement at 400 and 422 East Henrietta Road in the city of Rochester.
Moved by legislator Bonnet, seconded by legislator Maffucci. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
25 120 authorize the release, modification, restatement, and vacation of underground electric and water easements at 390 and 400 East Henrietta Road in the city of Rochester, and the modification of a utility tunnel easement at 400 and 422 East Henrietta Road in the city of Rochester.
Moved by legislator Bonnet, seconded by legislator Maffucci. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
25 121 acceptance of a municipal waste reduction and recycling grant in aid from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation under the Municipal Waste Reduction and Recycling Capital Project State Assistance Program.
Moved by legislator Bonnet, seconded by legislator Maffucci. Is there any discussion? Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the administration, I see it's noted in here that it took about 6 years for the grant to be awarded. Is there any other reason behind, why the delay for this?
Through the chair, it's entirely on the state. We applied for it a number of years ago, and it generally takes this long for them to process grants for capital reimbursement.
I yield.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
25 122 acceptance of a municipal waste reduction and recycling grant in aid from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for a municipal waste reduction and/or recycling project for public education.
Moved by legislator Bonnet, seconded by legislator Maffucci. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
25 123 acceptance of a grant from the Oswego County Soil and Water Conservation District for the Water Quality Program and authorize an intermunicipal agreement with the Monroe County Soil and Water Conservation District.
Moved by legislator Bonnet, seconded by legislator Maffucci. Is there any discussion? Yeah. Legislator Bonnet.
Through the chair, this is a program that the county has participated in for many years. Oswego County is the pass-through county that provides funding to 25 member counties, including Monroe County. So there is not an ability for the public to directly benefit for this grant, but there certainly is indirectly, and I'll explain. There is funding available for watercraft steward program in partnership with the Soil and Water Conservation District. They'll have volunteers deployed and other staff deployed throughout the summer, inspecting boats coming in and out of local water bodies at locations like the Genesee River, Erie Canal, and Irondequoit Bay. There are stream bank erosion remediation projects. This is funding that will be provided to the Soil and Water Conservation District as well. It's a pass-through to the Soil and Water Conservation District. And they've got a number of priority sites throughout the county, both either privately owned, publicly owned, where they're addressing stream bank erosion and shoreline stabilization. So they'll be working with the community that way. And they've got, like I said, they've got a number of projects. They've done work on Black Creek Park, Salmon Creek, Irondequoit Bay shoreline stabilization, Shipbuilders Creek, as well as Black Creek stream stabilization. Those are just some examples that the Soil and Water Conservation's undertaken. The county also provides, through this grant, funding to help offset our costs associated with the United States Geological Survey stream gauge monitoring program, which is very, very helpful to many local municipalities that may be impacted by floodwaters from local creeks. There are 14 gauges, and this provides accurate real-time information for towns and villages as well as the county during storm events. Lastly, there is funding available for the Monroe County Stormwater Coalition, again, led by Monroe County. There are 26 municipal members, towns and villages in Monroe County that participate, that are MS4 permit holders, and funding goes towards public education. So again, giving information to the public how they can better manage stormwater in their community and around their home.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
(25-0130). Authorize the conveyance of a temporary environmental conservation easement to the town of Penfield on the property located at 1775 Kennedy Road, Penfield, New York.
Moved by legislator Bonnet, seconded by legislator Maffucci. Is there any discussion? Okay, to the administration, could you define temporary?
To the chair, that is 40 years in length.
Great, thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item. No. 0139. Oh.
It's off one copy. It's one copy we find out.
Here.
Okay. Okay. 25-0139. Amend the 2025 capital budget and bond resolution 429 of 2022 to provide an increase in funding for the project entitled City Place Electrical and Mechanical Improvements. Amend bond resolution 168 of 2022 to provide a decrease in funding for the project entitled Space Utilization and Renovation of City Place, and authorize contracts with Bell Mechanical Contractor, Inc. and Connor Haas, Inc. for the City Place Electrical and Mechanical Improvement Project.
Moved by legislator Bonnet, seconded by legislator Maffucci. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Sinclair.
Through you, Madam Chair. Can you describe this project a little further? And do we really need to have a cooling system and standby power for that much of an investment on the one floor at City Place?
Through the chair, this location in City Place is really core to county operations. City Place serves, as you know, as a hub of county IS and fiber infrastructure. So it's critical that we have uninterrupted power supply, we have backup generator connection capability, and adequate cooling systems to maintain the county's computer system and network, which is central to City Place.
Is there no, through the chair, is there no cooling system for that room now and backup power already?
Through the chair, there is cooling there. It's equipment that was installed in '98 and it's at the end of its useful life. We can connect backup generators to that location, but the connections that we'll provide now will be much more expedient and safe for our operators and electricians to install generators.
Thank you. And through the chair, just to confirm, there's no additional net county support required for this project, correct?
Through the chair, as you know, we're decreasing capital funding one project and increasing the other so that we can accomplish this project, but it is entirely county supported.
Thank you. I yield.
Is there any other discussion? To the administration, what's powering the backup generators?
Through the chair, diesel fuel.
And to clarify, do we currently have backup generators?
Through the chair, yes, we have a pretty expansive fleet of backup generators for county facilities and Pure Water's operations.
Understood, but do we have backup generators at City Place?
To the chair, I understand it will be a mobile generator. We will pursue grant funding and other funding in the future for a fixed permanent generator, but for now we can capably respond to any power needs with a mobile backup generator.
So just to clarify, the expectation would be if there was not power at City Place, you would bring the diesel generators to City Place, run them in order to power City Place.
Through the chair, it would not power all of City Place, but it would power core operations within City Place. That is correct.
And we just hope that the water treatment plant doesn't need power at the same time.
Through the chair, if I may offer.
Please.
We would not be impacted. Again, we have a very broad fleet of expansive ranges of power capability. And as you may recall, we received a federal grant for 7.5 megawatts worth of generation capability up at Van Laer. That's necessary for City Place is one that we could capably deploy in the event of, wet weather event or other critical that we need to respond with backup power.
So would the improvements that you are requiring in this referral is not for the purchase of the diesel generator, but simply for other electrical infrastructure to enable connectivity to the diesel generator?
Through the chair, that is correct, as well as UPS systems, which are effectively battery systems, uninterrupted power supply systems that are critical to IS as well as the MRC and probation.
Okay, and do you have any expected, like how often have we needed backup generators in the past?
To the chair, we do deploy them before elections because obviously the computing resources are there within City Place, so they're always pre-deployed. We've never had to run them for an election. I can recall 2 events downtown where we've had a significant power outage where we had to deploy generators. We were able to do that in a responsive manner, keep operations going.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Any other discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
25-0140. Authorized contracts with Steve General Contractor, Inc., Bison Elevator Service, Inc., and Bell Mechanical Contractor, Inc. for the Monroe County Elevator Modernization Project.
Moved by Legislator Bonnet, seconded by Legislator Maffucci. Is there any discussion? Legislator McIntyre.
Through the chair. Are there any additional new elevators being added to any buildings or strictly replacing existing elevators? And I guess it would be good to know if they're just replacing or repairing the elevators and what the timeline of all of this is.
Through the chair, there are no new elevators as part of this replacement project, but the core elevator equipment and controls are all being replaced. So there are 10 locations identified. The timing is we've got 4 core buildings: Hall of Justice, Watts, 111 Westfall County Office Building, and that work will continue to the second quarter of 2027, so roughly 2 years.
And through the chair, it is to my understanding that we've had one of the elevators at City Place. It's been out for about 6 months now. At the Hall of Justice, I'm sorry. It's been out for about 6 months now. And I was wondering what the timeline would that be, through the chair, obviously.
Through the chair, yeah, we're obviously well aware of that. We do operate and maintain 91 elevators within the county. That elevator is on the list for replacement.
Yes, through the chair. What is the timeline on that?
Through the chair, I expect that timeline will be first quarter of 26. Yep.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. I believe that's our last. Yeah. Okay. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? There being no other matters, the April 21st, 2025 meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee will be held on Monday, May 19th, 2025 at 5:15 p.m.
The Services Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Blinkley. Mr. Blinkley is present. Ms. Bonnet. Ms. Bonnet is present. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew is present. Mr. Cruz. Mr. Cruz is present. Mr. Dondorfer is excused. Chairwoman Hasman.
Here.
Chairwoman Hasman is present. Mr. Milne.
Here.
Mr. Milne is present. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith is present. Ms. Vasquez Simmons.
Here.
Ms. Vasquez Simmons is present.
Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
Yes, there is. You will have 2 minutes in which to address the committee. Please do not bring up any signs or props. Do not single out any legislator individually, and please conclude when the buzzer sounds. Our first speaker is Terrence Schnurr.
Madam President, John Adams was an extraordinary man and in many ways a great man. But one of the biggest blots on his record is his role in the adoption and implementation of the 4 statutes known as the Alien and Sedition Acts of 1798. The 2 worst of those statutes, the Sedition Act and the Alien Friends Act, contained provisions sunsetting them on March 3rd, 1801, Adams's last full day in office. A third, the Naturalization Act, was repealed in 1822. But the 4th, the Alien Enemies Act, remains in effect because people have believed through the centuries that the extraordinary powers it grants a president may be an arrow she needs in her quiver as commander-in-chief when we are at war. Although there are problems which each of the times the act has been invoked in the past in relation to the War of 1812, the First World War and the Second World War, one thing no one can question is that those were actual wars. To believe that the current invocation is justified, one must believe that we are at war with Venezuela. Newsflash, we're not. This is an abuse of power in which the president is misreading a statute to arrogate to himself powers that are in peacetime reserved to the Congress and the courts. When the courts definitively tell the president he cannot do this, as they will, and he defies them, as he probably will our leaders stand with the Constitution and the rule of law and speak out, or will they stand with one man's lust for power and remain silent? Thank you, and have a good night.
There are no others. That concludes the public forum. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the February 25th, 2025 minutes before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. The next item on the agenda is new business. Madam Clerk?
Referral 25-0124, authorized contracts for the preschool special education program.
Move it, Madam Chair.
Second.
Moved by Legislator Vasquez Simmons, seconded by Legislator Cruz. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Legislator Milne.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, 3,521 children is a great number. Based upon known numbers, does the county anticipate an increase in both children served and approved providers in the future? And based upon known numbers, would we anticipate any financial concerns within the budget if we did have to increase the support?
Through the chair, Roxana Insko, Department of Health. At the moment, we're not aware of any potential new classrooms opening up. It's hard to determine if there's going to be an increase in service in the number of kids requiring services. We have seen a steady but small increase over the past 5 years of the number of kids who require preschool special education services.
Thank you very much. And then if I may just follow up through the chair. So based upon your answer, and I appreciate that information, there isn't a known number that we have just for the sake of discussion, 100 children or 200 children out there that we feel are not getting served because we just don't have enough room or anything like that?
I see. The school districts, each of the individual school districts hold the number of children who might be waiting for services still. We don't find out at the county about the children until they've found a provider for the kids. Back in March, we did hear from the Rochester City School District, and they shared that they have about 100 kids waiting for various services, mostly classroom services.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your answers. I yield the floor.
Any further discussion? Yes, Legislator Cruz.
Through the chair, I see the number 3,521 Monroe County children served for this grant. Do we have numbers kind of dividing how many kids were served in the city versus in the general county, or is it divided by school districts?
The Rochester City School District, being the largest district, does have the largest number of kids being served through the preschool special education program. I believe, again, back in March and looking at the data, they were being, from our outside service providers, they represented about 13% of all of the services being provided from those providers. I don't have specific data on how many children at the moment.
Thank you.
Yeah, Legislator Milne.
Thank you.
just then one more follow-up question, kind of in conjunction with Legislator Cruz's. Would it be possible, not now, in the future or at some time in the near future, to get some sort of detail? Now, I don't know if there's any type of HIPAA considerations or anything that's proprietary, but would it be possible to get some sort of a breakdown as far as where the children are indeed coming from?
Through the chair, yes, we can provide information on the children who have services provided. Again, we may not have the information about children who have been approved for services, but have not yet been assigned a provider.
Thank you. If that could just be provided to the individual caucuses, that'd be wonderful. Appreciate it. Thank you. I yield again.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0125, amend resolution 324 of 2024 to accept additional funding from the New York State Department of Health for support of the Monroe County Nurse Family Partnership Program.
Move it, Madam Chair.
Moved by Legislator Vasquez Simmons, seconded by Legislator Cruz. Is there any discussion? Legislator Smith.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, to the administration. How are those high-risk mothers and their families identified?
Through the chair, the families are identified by service providers. They can also be referred to the program through the community members themselves. And after they go through that process and they're deemed to be eligible for the program, they're then paired with a nurse. So they can come from multiple different avenues.
Thank you. I yield the floor.
Any further discussion? Yes, Legislator Brew.
Yes, I'd like to explain my vote. The Nurse Family Partnership, in my mind, is it's one of the shining lights of the services that the county provides. I've attended a couple of the graduations, and to see the graduation of the moms, the families, and the little ones is just very compelling. And my takeaway is this is a program that actually works. There are benefits, there are dividends that this pays, and actually results in a lower cost, better outcomes for these families in the future. So they're not a burden on social services. And one thing the referral doesn't mention, it does mention that Nurse Family Partnership does provide prenatal care. But from what I remember, the mom delivers, the child, and Nurse Family Partnership stays with that family for up to 2 years, I believe, right? So not only do they make sure the mom is taking care of health-wise, and in turn the baby is also healthy, they make sure that these kids are getting the best that they possibly can given the situations that they're in through the services of Nurse Family Partnership. So I'm just delighted to be able to support this referral for this additional money going into this organization. So thank you.
Thank you, Legislator Brew. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0126, acceptance of additional funding from the New York State Office of Mental Health and the New York State Office of Addiction Services and Supports, amend Resolution 427 of 2024, authorizing contracts for the provision of mental health, developmental disabilities, and alcoholism and substance abuse services in 2025.
Move it, Madam Chair.
Moved by Legislator Vasquez Simmons, seconded by Legislator Cruz. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Are there any other matters to come before this committee?
I actually have something, Madam Chair.
Oh, yes.
Going back to the approval of minutes, if we can take a look at, I think there is a little discrepancy on the minutes as to who called the meeting to order. If we could just confirm it.
Oh, that is incorrect. We'll make you edit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Just
you.
want to make sure the
Thank you for
record's
catching that.
Yep.
All right. There being no other matters to come There being no other matters, the March 25th, 2025 meeting of the Human Services Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Human Services Committee will be held on Tuesday, May 19th, May 20th at 5 p.m.
Thank you.
Good evening. The April 21st, 2025 meeting of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Miss Bartholomew McCoy. Here. Miss Bartholomew McCoy is present. Chairman Blankley.
Here.
Chairman Blankley is present. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns is present. Mr. Long.
Here.
Mr. Long is present. Miss McIntyre. Miss McIntyre is present.
Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
Yes. You'll have 2 minutes in which to address the committee. Also, please do not bring up any signs or props. Do not single out any legislator individually, and please conclude when the buzzer sounds. Our first speaker is Terrence Schnur.
In Wisconsin, Jackson, Michigan, Exeter, New Hampshire, and Auburn, New York, citizens gathered because they rightly saw that the parties to which they had long belonged were on the wrong side of history, and it was time to create something new. The new thing they created was the Republican Party. And although I would likely have disagreed with most Republican officials more often than not, since Chester Arthur left office in 1885, the party has a proud and honorable history and has generally been true to its name. Its office holders have generally believed in the ideals of our republic and supported policies they genuinely had believed advanced its most sacred mission to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. That all began to change 10 years ago, and it came crashing down 13 weeks ago. The Republican Party is today unmistakably and irreversibly a threat to our republic and our freedom. I have no doubt that there are people on the left side of this room who recognize that what is truly deranged is to believe that what is going on now is in any sense normal, acceptable, conservative, and Republican. I will not criticize you for any past decisions, but I will challenge you, those of you who do recognize that, to follow the courageous and patriotic example of your predecessors and start something new, to oppose those policies of the Democratic Party you think are wrong, but to also value the values of this republic. Thank you and have a good night.
Is there anyone else signed up for the public forum?
No, there's not.
Is there anyone present who is not signed up to speak that would like to address the committee at this time? Seeing none. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the March 24th, 2025 minutes of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. Next item on the agenda is new business. Madam Clerk.
Referral 25-0123. Acceptance of a grant from the Oswego County Soil and Water Conservation District for the Water Quality Program and authorize an intermunicipal agreement with the Monroe County Soil and Water Conservation District.
Second.
Moved by Legislator Long, seconded by Legislator Bartholomew McCoy. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? Seeing none. There being no other matters, the April 21st, 2025 meeting of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee will be held Monday, May 19th at 5:30 p.m.
The April 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Public Safety Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess is present. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby is present. Mr. Cruz. Mr. Cruz is present. Ms. DiFlorio. Ms. DiFlorio is present. Mr. Dondorfer is excused. Ms. Hughes-Smith. Ms. Hughes-Smith is present. Chairman Long.
Here.
Chairman Long is present. Mr. Maffucci. Mr. Maffucci is present. Mr. Milne.
Here.
Mr. Milne is present. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith is present. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons is present.
Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
There is not.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the March 25th, 2025 minutes before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. The next item on the agenda is new business. Mr. Clerk.
Referral 25-0127, acceptance of a grant from the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services for the 2024 statewide interoperable communications grant program.
Second.
Moved by Legislator Maffucci, seconded by Legislator Vasquez Simmons. Any questions or Legislator Cruz?
Through the chair, does this have anything to do with the, or do any of these funds go towards the 911 center?
Through the chair, specifically, these funds are targeted towards our radio infrastructure, as well as purchase of portable and mobile radios. So these dollars are not targeted towards any operating funds for 911.
Through the chair, so that would be like the first responders, like radio systems, like the trunk system versus any other systems or contracts that we may buy that are currently being tested?
Through the chair, that's correct. It would be any of our trunk radio infrastructure or any of the radios, mobile or portable, that would be operated on the system.
Through the chair, what specific departments are receiving, I guess, this dollar amount to be able to upgrade their system? Is it the Sheriff's Department, the Rochester Fire Department, the EMS department, or?
So any of the departments that you've mentioned that utilize our mobile or portable radio systems would clearly we would use these dollars to replace any of the radios that they have. And all of those agencies that you mentioned are currently in some form or fashion on a form of our either the trunk radio system or our legacy VHF system.
Thank you. Through the chair, do these departments, would they have to apply if they feel like they need an upgrade? Any other departments in the county? How does that work?
So the plans that we currently have in place for this formula grant dollars that we have, any of the current users of our portable radios and mobile radios that are scheduled for replacement. Again, this grant period is from 2024 through 2026. If they have any of the radios that age out, any of those agencies then are a part of the plan, and we would replace those radios per the plan. They don't have to request them. It's part of the normal communications forms that we have and how we manage our all of our radio inventory.
Thank you. One last question. Thank you for being so patient. So does the City of Rochester Fire Department have their own systems or plan with the City of Rochester, or it is, I don't want to assume anything, or is the this grant also kind of help or cover if the City of Rochester Fire Department is also kind of aging out, like you mentioned?
Specific to portable radios, the City of Rochester utilizes Motorola radios, so those are not provided under county aegis. They are users on our trunk radio system to some extent, as well as the legacy VHF. So any of that infrastructure that would be planned and any of these dollars that might be utilized for that, they would be the beneficiaries of those grant dollars.
Thank you. And just to clarify, I know you mentioned it, then this funding is only for those agencies that utilize the trunk system that the county is utilizing.
I'm sorry, could the legislator please repeat the question?
Yes, through the chair, I apologize, through the chair. So just to clarify then, the dollar amount for this grant, are only for the agencies or can only be utilized for the agencies that are currently holding or using the trunk system that the county is using?
No, it's not exclusive to the trunk radio system. It's a combination of the repairs and upgrades we would make to the trunk radio system, as well as the portable and mobile radios for those agencies who are currently utilizing county-issued portable mobiles and portables. So if an agency chooses to buy their own mobile radios or portables, these grant dollars would not be eligible to them. This is only for county purchase that we would then redeploy those portables and mobiles out to those agencies that have agreed to use our radios.
Thank you. That'll be all.
Legislator Milne.
Thank you, Chairman. Through the chair to the administration. I know these numbers are always changing, but how many portable mobile radios have been purchased with this grant funding thus far? If that's a number that's available. And is there an estimate as to how many more radios need to be purchased over the period of time? Obviously, again, I understand these are for updates and repairs, et cetera, also, but how many radios are we short if that's available?
That's certainly a number that I can get for you. I don't have it here. We can certainly break it out between portable and mobile. Just as a point of information, you look at $1.4 million. The current market cost of a radio out that we would put out for bid is roughly $8,000. So this is only 1.4 million would get us about 175 of the latest state-of-the-art portable radios. And so we would need multiple of these grants, and we do need multiple of these grants plus other funds that we provide to replace the full fleet of portable radios we have out there. So we will get you the total number and provide that.
Thank you very much. And that additional information is great. I appreciate it and I yield the floor.
Any other questions or comments? Legislator Hughes-Smith.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, are there any agencies that are not county agencies using county-issued radios? And if so, who?
Through the chair, just to clarify the question, are there any non-county agencies using county-issued radios? Was that the question that I understood?
That's correct.
Right now, the only radios that are issued by Monroe County are to agencies that reside in the county of Monroe or operate in the county of Monroe and operate on our radio system. There's none non-county agencies that I'm aware of that have any of our assets.
So I don't think that actually answers the question. I'm trying to understand if there are agencies that are not our own county agencies, but say the Webster, or Brighton town police force, or a volunteer ambulance service. Are there any agencies that are not staffed and run by the county itself that is issued these radios?
Thank you for that clarification through the chair. Yes, we have subscriber agreements, legal agreements with multiple agencies, so outside of county government. So that could be any town or village police department, that could be any town, village, or fire district fire department. That could be any local EMS agency. So yes, there are many agencies who utilize our radios that are provided that are funded by grants such as this.
Thank you for that clarification. Would it be possible for you to provide a list of these subscriber agencies and perhaps some explanation as to how you determine which radios get replaced? For if you can only replace so many radios a year, like how is that happening? How are you deciding which agency gets their replacements first? Is there some kind of priority process? Is it simply by age of them? If you could just send whatever explanation you have, that'd be great.
Certainly, we can provide an inventory list for you. And just as a point of information, All of our radios are on a life cycle plan. So when we purchase a radio, we purchase a radio along with what would be considered a warranty or full service maintenance agreement. Typically, when that full service maintenance agreement expires, and for whether it's a mobile radio or a portable radio, that can be anywhere from 5 to 7, depending on the device, up to 10 years. That's typically that we then plan for replacement. We track the serial numbers, and based on the age of the device, based on our financing plan, whether that's through grant or other means, that's how we track and then plan our replacement program.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate the information. I yield the floor.
Are there any other questions or comments? Legislator Colby.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, Mr. Chairman, I understand all the other agencies, police and fire, and the for-profit like EMS, like AM and stuff. Are they access to these, or is it only non-for-profit or like fire districts or police departments that have access?
Typically, the agencies that you refer to, we have subscriber agreements with them to utilize our trunk radio system, but they typically purchase both their portable and mobile radios for use.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 25-0128, amend resolution 129 of 2024 to accept additional funding from the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services for the offices of the Public Defender, the Conflict Defender, and the Assigned Counsel Program for the second statewide expansion of the Hurl Herring Program.
Second.
Moved by Legislator Maffucci, seconded by Legislator Vasquez Simmons. Are there any questions or comments? Legislator DiFlorio.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, can you just give us a brief overview of the duties or responsibilities of the senior project manager and whether or not you have a current candidate in mind? Oh. Hi. Yes, do you have a candidate already in mind for this position?
No, I do not.
Okay. Oh, the first part you didn't hear then.
I'm sorry.
Can you give us an overview of the roles or responsibilities of this, the senior project manager?
Yes, I can do that. Thank you. Through the chair. The job obligations of the senior project on matters associated to government operations, community relations, and confidential assignments. Overseeing the management of day-to-day activities of the department, including all human resource-related matters, staffing, procurement, resource needs, and special projects. Through the chair, I can vouch that special projects are almost a daily obligation. The individual will be supervising the present project manager and other lower-level professional and clerical staff. They'll be responsible for planning and executing major organizational projects and ensuring that they are completed within specified timeframes, managing the facilities and addressing office space needs, again, through the chair, which is an ongoing issue in our office, implementing the updating of processes and procedures, pardon my grammar, will be responsible for preparing and monitoring program budgets and also analyzing operational problems to formulate and implement solutions.
Thank you. I yield.
Are there any other questions or comments? Legislator Hughes-Smith.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, could you just provide us some data on the number of cases our indigent legal service teams take on each year and the outcomes?
Through the chair, if I understand your question, it's related to caseloads?
Correct.
And the caseload requirements that Office of Indigent Legal Services places on the various defender providers. Those numbers were arrived at through an evaluation process that was created, I believe, back in about 2017. information was sought through numerous providers to try and determine what the appropriate number of hours should be being spent on violation level offenses, misdemeanor level offenses, felony offenses, appeals, parole matters. Through the chair, it's interesting that you asked the question because actually tomorrow they're meeting in Albany to reevaluate those numbers in the light of discovery reform. So there is an ongoing process, but my understanding is the Office of Indigent Legal Services continues to interact with other organizations who are amassing the data, and then they're making the recommendations to the Office of Indigent Legal Services, who then will consult with the various providers to determine whether or not those numbers are in alliance with reality.
Okay, so do you have like a ballpark figure of like how many cases we have each year that would need indigent legal services?
My office represents about 25,000 a year.
Okay.
And I can certainly provide more up-to-date data. We keep the data in a monthly basis is how many cases we're taking in each month. And through the chair, I can provide that information tomorrow. We have the data at hand. I just don't have it with me right now.
Yeah, no problem. And just if I could clarify, because I'm not sure, I totally understand, but I think your office specifically is handling 25,000 yearly. And do I understand correctly that there are additional providers who also may be providing services to these same clientele? Okay.
Yes, our colleagues at the assigned counsel program as well as the conflict defenders program also. So some of the numbers are divvied up.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 25-0129, acceptance of a grant from the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services for the 4th Upstate Model Family Representation Program for the Office of the Public Defender.
Second.
Moved by Legislator Maffucci, seconded by Legislator Vasquez Simmons. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 25-0135, adopt a resolution allowing Monroe County to install automatic license plate reader equipment and technology within right-of-way owned by New York State.
Second.
Moved by Legislator Maffucci, seconded by Legislator Vasquez Simmons. Any questions or discussion? Legislator Smith.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, just to confirm, this program will not be used to conduct routine traffic enforcement. Is this correct?
Through the chair, that's correct. There's no traffic enforcement used with this equipment.
Thank you. And through the chair to the administration, are there any installation or upkeep costs associated with this program?
Through the chair, yes, there are. Those are already worked into the purchase agreement, so it's in the negotiated price already.
Thank you. And through the chair to the administration, could you elaborate on how the software will be protected from abuse or any type of surveillance state?
Through the chair, we recognize the risk associated with this equipment. The fact that we've earned the public trust and we don't want to do anything to jeopardize that. So our strict policy, the use of supervision, the software provides for an audit log and a complete audit trail for us to use. And we've incorporated that into our policy for routine audit checks throughout the calendar year.
Thank you. And through the chair to the administration, what would be the criteria for activation of the system?
Through the chair, the system will be active 24/7, but for a deputy to have cause to enter into the system and view the results, it'll require some articulable public safety cause.
Thank you. And through the chair to the administration, could we be provided copies of any current or future policies safeguarding this system misuse?
Through the chair, absolutely.
You. And one final question, through the chair to the administration, how are the sites chosen and will there be more added in the future?
Through the chair, the sites were chosen based upon our experience, the flow of traffic, the congestion of traffic, and the availability of the infrastructure in the area to be able to mount the equipment. As far as future growth or expansion of the system, yes, it is possible. we would have to come back for additional funding.
Thank you. And just one follow-up from that, through the chair to the administration. I just want to make sure you stated you would have to come back to this body for approval, correct?
Through the chair, no, technically, if we're just purchasing a commodity, as it stands now, we would not have to come back to this body. Your approval tonight would establish the opportunity for that to exist in the future.
Thank you. And just one comment with this. I just want to thank Deputy Fowler for coming in front of us and giving us a presentation of the technology happening in Monroe County Sheriff's. We greatly appreciate getting that update and the safety they provide to the residents of Monroe County. Thank you.
Legislator Colby.
Thank you, Chairman. Through you, Mr. Chairman, can administration or the Sheriff's Department, does it have to be can anybody view this information, or what criteria does it take for somebody to be authorized to look at the data? Because does it have to be a sheriff, or can you have somebody else look at it?
Through the chair, you have to be a sworn law enforcement official or have my authorization from the sheriff's office. We would only share that for the law enforcement purpose. There's no opportunity for the public or any layperson to access the data.
And through you, Mr. Chairman, is there established protocols in this that if somebody's found to be abusing it or accessing it, is there what would happen to that person? I guess are they felonies? Are they misdemeanors? Or it's just a slap on the wrist, or what?
Through the chair, is what you've explained doesn't rise to the level of a criminal case.
Okay.
Until they may accidentally or improperly access DMV data. That in itself would be a criminal charge, but DMV is not on its own connected to the license plate reader. That is a whole nother step that a human must take to access that data. The two are not connected. So if you're talking about accessing the data that a license plate reader returns, that would be a strict violation of our policy. It would be caught in the audit trail and through the supervisory process, and it would be dealt with according to our disciplinary process. They would, by our policy, they would lose access to that in the future, in addition to whatever discipline the sheriff handed out.
Thank you for that. I also, I guess I want to explain my vote really quick here. Many people are concerned about Big Brother, but after listening to the policies that the Sheriff's Department has put in place and the protocols that you have in place to protect people, I can support this going forward. Without those protocols, I would have problem with this technology being applied. But thank you for putting the protocols in and taking the time to explain to us to reassure that the system will not be abused by our law enforcement or any other individual.
Are there any other questions or comments? Legislator Cruz.
Through the chair to the administration, I'm reading that the technology is going to be used to solve crime. Can I get some examples of what that is?
Simple examples through the chair, simple examples of crime, criminal activity that this will be used to address. Specifically retail theft operations, stolen vehicle operations, residential burglaries, just about anything that you can come up with where a mode of transportation is used on public roadways. This would come into play in addition to all those non-criminal cases such as our silver alerts, our amber alerts, missing persons, things like that.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, sticking with the Big Brother motto comment, just to get a reassurance, would any of this technology ever be used or could be used for the detention or following of individuals, tracking of individuals that the federal administration may potentially be looking to detain for deportation?
Through the chair, no, it would not. There actually does not exist a link between the two systems. So, for example, when we get hot sheets for specific vehicles to look for, those are published by DMV out of New York State. And DMV from New York State does not cooperate with immigration, so that data is not shared back and forth.
Thank you. Through one last question, through the chair to the administration. With that being said, if asked by the federal administration, would we be at risk to having to hand over any information or allowing them to use this technology to trace, track individuals if it was asked directly?
Through the chair, the New York State Attorney General recommends against that, and our policy prohibits that. There would have to be a criminal charge at the federal level for us to be able to do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Legislator Hughes-Smith.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. Could you remind me, how many cameras are we talking about?
Through the chair, we have to be specific on the response. The number of cameras is approximately 144, but that will accomplish approximately 85 locations. Some locations are complex intersections and require more than one camera.
Thank you. I appreciate the specificity. And because I know not all the legislators were able to attend your briefings, none of these cameras are located in the city of Rochester, correct?
Through the chair, we have discussions over placing one set of cameras at one location in the city. We're in discussions with the city over that, but that is for a test case for them. Then they would have to pursue expanding that into the remainder of the city.
Thank you. And do you have a sense of, so I get it, 144 cameras at 85 locations, like how many, like what percentage of the cars would you typically expect to be passing by those sites? Are these at, very active intersections, or I was trying to think of some other way you're quantifying the coverage, if you will, that these cameras would have. Does that make sense?
Through the chair, it does. I'll try my best to explain this, that it's based upon a basic understanding of that traffic congestion and the traffic flow. So for example, we're looking for those primary routes of travel between retail plazas, between hotspots and criminal activity, things like that. So based upon our experience, we've looked at the map and we've identified that, the majority of offenders might be traveling these roadways.
But you don't have any, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, you don't have any more detail you could provide us? So you think it covers 80% of the vehicle traffic over a week's period, or have we run any numbers at all?
Through the chair, no, we don't. That would have to be provided by the Department of Transportation offices, and they would have to do a survey and a study prior to that.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate it. I guess I'll just explain my vote. And while I very much appreciate the presentations that we've received and the very thoughtful responses, I continue to be concerned about the continued development of a surveillance state without robust public input. And given the current disregard that our federal agencies seem to be expressing towards the rule of law and due process, I simply can't support this referral at this time. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Legislator Cruz.
Through the chair to the administration, do these cameras come with any processors, data storage, or are we utilizing something that we already have to store the information?
Through the chair, data storage is part of the purchase agreement.
I guess my next question would be through the chair to the administration. I don't know if it's confidential, but then where are we keeping the data storage?
Through the chair, it's stored in the cloud through an agreement with the manufacturer, and it's one of the nationwide approved secure storage sites. Microsoft Azure, I believe it is.
So through the chair to the administration, that we feel pretty safe with firewalls and internet safety from being hacked. I guess that's my being point.
Through the chair, yes, that's correct. We wouldn't entertain a purchase agreement that didn't offer that level of security.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
We had 2 noes,
2 no.
8-2. Resolution passes.
Next item, please.
Referral 25-0136, acceptance of a grant from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services for the 2024 Paul Coverdell Forensic Science Improvement Program, Monroe County Crime Lab.
Second.
Moved by legislator Maffucci, seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons. Are there any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? There being no other matters, the April 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Public Safety Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Public Safety Committee will be held on Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Bonnick. Ms. Bonnick is present. Chairman Burgess.
Here.
Chairman Burgess is present. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby is present. Ms. DiFlorio. Ms. DiFlorio is present. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier is present. Ms. Hughes-Smith. Ms. Hughes-Smith is present. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller is present. President Román. President Román is present.
Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
No, there is not.
Is there anyone present who has not signed up to speak who would like to address the committee at this time? With there being none, the next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the March 25th, 2025 meeting minutes of the Transportation Committee before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. The next item on the agenda is new business. Madam Clerk.
Resolute referral 25-0109. Resolution for Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad New York Scenic Byway Nomination and Corridor Management Plan Adoption.
Move it, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by legislator Hughes-Smith, seconded by legislator Bonnick. Are there any, legislator Colby?
Thank you, Chairman. Through you, Mr. Chairman, can the administration elaborate on what the off-premise outdoor advertising signs are or is that we're talking about? Not promoting any of them or adding any?
Through the chair, this is Deputy County Attorney Miguel Munoz. So the restriction applies to new off-premise outdoor advertising signs. So I'll take that point by point. The restriction applies only to off-premise signs. Off-premise signs are signs that are not located on the same property as the activity advertised. So the restriction would not apply to signs that are on the same property as the business or attraction advertised. Next, the restriction applies only to new signs. So it would not apply to pre-existing signs. Finally, the restriction applies only to advertising signs. So it would not apply to directional or official signs and notices. Some examples of directional and official signs and notices are signs and notices pertaining to natural wonders, scenic and historical attractions, or which are required or authorized by law.
So through you, Mr. Chairman, to make these signs are along the route, along this route that is designated. We're not allowed any new signs to be put up except for as you described, correct? Is that the way I read this?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you. I yield the floor, Chairman.
Any other discussion? With those, no other discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? Nope. With there being no matters, the April 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Transportation Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Transportation Committee will be held on Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 at 5:15 p.m.
The April 22, 2025 meeting of the Ways and Means Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please read the roll?
Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart is present. Mr. Baynes. Mr. Baynes is present. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy.
Here.
Ms. Bartholomew McCoy is present. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew is present. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby is present. Mr. Dondorfer is excused. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller is present. Chairman Maffucci.
Here.
Chairman Maffucci is present. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith is present. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons is present. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson is present.
Thank you, Legislator Brew. Are there any speakers signed up for the public forum?
There are not.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the minutes from the March 2025 meeting before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. The next item on the agenda is new business. Mr. Clerk.
Referral 25-0114, authorize the sale of county-owned tax foreclosure property located at 763 Howard Road, Rochester, New York, 14624, in the town of Gates.
Second.
Moved by Legislator Udelson, seconded by Legislator Vasquez Simmons. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0116, authorize the sale of county tax foreclosure property located at Cedarhurst Drive, West Henrietta, New York, 14586, in the town of Henrietta.
Second.
Moved by Legislator Udelson, seconded by Legislator Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0118, authorize the sale of county-owned tax foreclosure property located at 3417 Atlantic Avenue, Penfield, New York, 14526, in the town of Penfield.
Second.
Moved by Legislator Udelson, seconded by Legislator Vasquez Simmons. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0120, authorize the release, modification, restatement, and vacation of underground electric and water easements at 390 and 400 East Henrietta Road in the city of Rochester, and the modification of a utility tunnel easement at 400 and 422 East Henrietta Road in the city of Rochester.
Second.
Moved by Legislator Udelson, seconded by Legislator Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed?
Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0121, acceptance of a municipal waste reduction and recycling grant and aid from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation under the Municipal Waste Reduction and Recycling Capital Projects State Assistance Program.
Second.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0122, acceptance of a municipal waste program and recycling grant and aid from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for a municipal waste reduction and or recycling project for public education.
Second.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0123, acceptance of a grant from the Oswego County Soil and Water Conservation District for the Water Quality Program and authorize an intermunicipal agreement with the Monroe County Soil and Water Conservation District.
Second.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0124, authorized contracts for the preschool special education program.
Second.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0125, amend resolution 324 of 2024 to accept additional funding from the New York State Department of Health for support of the Monroe County Nurse Family Partnership Program.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0126, acceptance of additional funding from the New York State Office of Mental Health and the New York State Office of Addiction Services and Supports. Amend Resolution 427 of 2024, authorizing contracts for the provision of mental health, development, disabilities, and alcoholism and substance abuse services in 2025.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0127, acceptance of a grant from the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services for the 2024 statewide interoperable communications grant program.
Second.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baynes.
Declaring my interest.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0128, amend Resolution 129 of 2024 to accept additional funding from the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services for the offices of the Public Defender, the Conflict Defender, and the Assigned Counsel Program for the second statewide expansion of the Hurl Herring Program.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0129, acceptance of a grant from the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services for the fourth Upstate Model Family Representation Program for the Office of the Public Defender.
Second.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0131, amend the 2025 capital budget to increase funding for the project entitled Replacement of Voting Machines and decrease funding for the project entitled Voting Equipment, authorize interfund transfers.
Second.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0132, erroneous assessments, corrections, and cancellations.
Second.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral 25-0133, erroneous assessment, refund.
Second.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0136, acceptance of a grant from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services for the 2024 Paul Coverdell Forensic Science Improvement Program, Monroe County Crime Lab.
Second.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0139, amend the 2025 capital budget and bond resolution 429 of 2022 to provide an increase in funding for the project entitled City Place Electrical and Mechanical Improvements. Amend bond resolution 168 of 2022 to provide a decrease in funding for the project entitled Space Utilization and Renovation of City Place, and authorize contracts with Bell Mechanical Contractor and Connors Haas for the City Place Electrical and Mechanical Improvements Project.
Second.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Legislator Brew.
That's through the chair of the administration. We've heard that construction is expected to start later this year. Is the project still pretty much on schedule through the chair?
Through the chair, yes, it is. And with the expected completion of second quarter of 2026, this is coming before our honorable body as a matter of importance because we're concerned about potential impact on tariffs. We want to get this contract awarded and get the work started right away.
Thank you. I yield.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0140, authorized contracts with Steve General Contractor, Bison Elevator Service, and Bell Mechanical Contractor for the Monroe County Elevator Modernization Project.
Move it. Second. Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Bartholomew McCoy. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to declare my interest.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Oop, legislator Bruce, sorry about that.
Yes, to the chair of the administration, how many total elevators does this involve?
Through the chair, 10 and
10.
4 separate.
Okay, and a follow-up question to that, to the chair of the administration. Is it new elevator construction or rebuilding the existing elevators, or how is it working?
Through the chair, this is replacing existing elevator equipment. So we're adding new elevators, if you will. It's replacing existing equipment.
And follow-up question, would that include new cars through the chair of the administration?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Thank you. I yield.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? Seeing none. There being no other matters, the April 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Ways and Means Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Ways and Means Committee will be Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 at 6 p.m.